Yo, yo, my sovereigns, what up? This is Boba Fett, uncensored on the internet, with episode 101 of Splinterlands 101. Joining us once again, co-hosts of the show, finest gentleman who ever lived, Matt Clark,
Howdy, howdy.
the man behind the Pouffet Poussey, Geotrix,
Hello.
and anyone who has been on Hive, back in Steam, you're all going to know this guy. You might not know the face, but you will definitely know the name. Been around forever. Um, I guess we could call you an OG. I'm not sure. Well, I'll ask you that in a second. Welcome to the show, Flo.
Nice to be here for the 101 episode.
God.
Thank you.
And it's interesting, like when we first organized a time, the date was going to be 2211 or 1122 for people in America, but everywhere else in the world, 2211. And we got onto the topic of, 11s and 22s. Then you had a dental crisis, so we had to postpone.
Yes.
But yet, even still, 101, like
Even better.
some
It's
magic
much
in that.
better. I mean, that's the 101 show, right? So being here
And-
for the 101 episode, it's
It would
quite an honor.
never, this is the last time there will ever be a 101 episode.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as an intro starting point, I guess, one thing we usually ask is like, how did you find yourself into the Splinterlands space? Some people have come from trading card, some people have come from crypto backgrounds. People like myself just like stumbled into the middle of it all, had no idea what the hell was going on. And because you have been around since the beginning, yeah, tell us the story of how you got here, Flo.
So
Flauwy,
basically, yeah, go
he
ahead.
actually told everyone about Splinterlands.
Really?
Yeah, Flauwy was, yeah.
Did I?
He's that.
I
He said, oh, by the way, Agro and Yabba, you guys are going to invent this game. And then he told them all about it. That's how long he's been here.
I did not know that actually. It's been so long. It's been 84 years. All right, so I started on Steam in 2017 because I urgently needed some way to earn money. I had a memory teaching company before that, and before that I was just doing freelance memory teaching, and the whole transition from freelance to company did not go so well. We created a German company with a specific style where you can only take out money once a year, and we did not know that when we created the company, and that didn't work out for us. So as soon as we realized that we have a company style that doesn't allow us to pay our monthly fees, basically, it all collapsed, and I needed something else. And at that time, I was in Costa Rica, living in not really the jungle, but let's just say the jungle. And I wanted to be independent and have something online. And that's how I stumbled upon Steam. I think my screen is frozen again, isn't it?
It is, but
I've just
That's
looked you up, Flauwy.
That's a
Your
bad sign.
account is 179,464. So you were within the first 200,000 people to create an account on this chain. And June 2017, 86 moons you've been around.
Wow. I love how you calculated the time. That's normally my specialty. Still frozen here. We'll just finish my
Intro.
backstory, and then I will try to reconnect here.
All right.
So yeah, stick with me, looking smilingly there to the side.
It's an improvement on the
Um,
last frozen image. I'll give you that.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So yeah, I stumbled upon Steemit after doing some research. What could I do to earn some money online? And quickly realized that everything I ever did prepared me for this journey. I learned about I learned about writing. I did an apprenticeship as a gaming writer, as a gaming editor for MMORPG, World of Warcraft magazine, online community. That was 10 years prior to that. And yeah, I did that. So I was good at writing and at gaming, obviously. That was kind of like something I always been very affected by. And then I also did multimedia, Photoshop, videos. I did my own website, so I was pretty good at all of that. And then I started to create tons of content, and I got within the first half a year, I became one of the top content creators on Steam. That was just when the bull run started. Or actually, it was already over, but I didn't know it by that time. Suddenly, everything was valuable, and I had quite some money, which I didn't cash out. And then we came into 2018, everything came down again, and I was, and then I learned in summer about Splinterlands or Steam monsters by that time, right? And I started to realize that this is the future of gaming. I immediately saw a massive potential of where this could go, and I transitioned my Steam into cards bit by bit, which was good because I could catch some of the falling Steam price and keep the value in cards. Took some time before all those cards became valuable, but yeah, at least they stayed the same.
Yeah. So I think the first time we spoke or met, I guess, was through Sam, EFT now. We had the D files. So it was like the X files, but the D files, decentralized, and DTube. So Sam and I used to do that. Sam living in
So I
Spain,
was quite
me
fortunate.
living.
This is how, and now I will restart my video here and join you again, hopefully in a second.
Okay. So that would have been around about the 2018 sort of time, because it was when he mentioned like the money was quite good at the time for content creating on the Steam blockchain. So, and then, yeah, I'll wait till Flauwy manages to reconnect before I move on with that. So, Matt, how you going with land? Have you done anything yet?
Oh,
Yeah, I've done very little. My plan's been to let SPS moon and then burn it at a higher price for DEC. So I've been enjoying watching it go up, but I've also been sort of, trying to time things now and trying to work out when is best. I've always been happy to forego the early rewards just because I know there's a lot of people who are stampeding at the gate and they really want to rack up their research or they really want to rack up the SPS. I've already got heaps of SPS from the airdrop. My bags are full there. Research, I kind of feel like I have time there to stack that. I'm just coming up on 20,000 research just with the handful of plots that I have.
Wow.
Because I'm working, obviously I'm working my legendary and epic plots. And so even though there's only a handful, they're the best cards that I have with titles, with totems, legendary titles that everything's bumping things up. I got 4 Rooney at work. So I'm kind of really at that pointy end of the quality, and then I'll just sort of gradually expand out and fill in those other plots as the SP. I got nearly 70,000 SPS liquid that I haven't powered up over the last 5 or 6 months, waiting until the SPS price is high enough that I can justify burning that for dark energy crystals and then just staking all of those on land. So I'm just trying to get the timing right on that. I probably should have just sort of seen it as like a dollar cost average and hit it at the real high, probably 24 or 32 hours ago. I've sort of been watching it taper off a little bit since then.
Yeah.
And thinking,
Went to 3.2, now it's back to 3.1, I think.
yeah, but it's hardly a retracement. I think it's just we'll see. I might give it another week and then start burning at whatever the price is.
Yeah.
slowly.
Yeah, but I figure, if I can just tell if I go and burn 50,000 SPS at 0.32 cents, I know I'm going to wake up the next morning and it's going to be 0.42 cents. And I'll be thinking, okay, I could have had a substantial substantial, larger dark energy crystals.
Well, that's where the
And
dollar
then-
cost averaging is going to help you out.
Yeah, exactly. So look, I'm not in any great rush. It's always been the long game for me, land. That's why I'm not selling plots to use DEC to plow that back in. We've already seen the price of plots has increased quite a lot. Sarah, who was on last week, has been saying that she's been prowling around still looking for more plots at that sort of $35 mark and not finding really anything. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, you're paying 35, you're getting building in a box, and
29, 28,
Yeah.
27, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and now it's like you're looking around and there's a lot of land's getting snapped up. So I can really see that pushing up that floor, and I can just see that continuing, right? And I'm happy. I'm really happy with the way it's all going. I kind of miss. I wanted to retire from battling, but I found that I'm just doing it anyway, just with whatever cards I haven't yet put on land. I'm just kind of scraping by with.
Yeah.
Because it's just a habit. It's been 5 years, right? Like, I can't just stop out of the blue. And I still
Yeah.
want to kind of win the chests, and I want to get those reward cards. I still want to compete in brawls and get my gladiators up. So it just feels like incompleteness to leave my soulbound cards incomplete. And I figure, well, I can keep using them, right? I can keep using my soulbounds. Just need to get good at using those, and they're all summoning gladiators, right? So, and I have gladiators. So maybe I can still stay relatively competitive, stay in Diamond Wild, and just have a bit of fun every day.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I got Jerry and I did a Zoom with the screen share about a week. Was it a week ago? I think. Oh,
Oh,
three
a few
days.
days.
4
Yeah.
days. Yeah, 4 days because of the and yeah. So I've got all 5 of my plots set up and producing, and it's like I across all my accounts because I would look for the PP and the BCX to try and be as economical as possible. So I decimated like all of my accounts. It didn't come across out of one. So I spent a few hours the next day rebalancing my accounts, and I seem to have done that okay. So I still have a battling gold, silver, and 2 bronze accounts. My land is producing. So yeah, I'm all set up and good. And talking about with the SPS going up, like I've got, I think around about 65, 60, actually I think I just clicked over 67K SPS. And you think, oh wow, like it's gone up from 1.4 cents to 3.2. Woo woo. Well, that doubled the USD value. Like that 1.5 cents doubled the USD value of my SPS holdings. It's like it's a quite an eye opener, really. You think, just 1 or 2 cents makes a huge difference when you're holding that much. So you must have been stoked what it's done to your account.
Yeah, well, I don't really look much at the US dollar value of the account. I'm not planning on selling anytime soon. So my SPS is just my SPS. I'm just looking at your Baron's Toolbox is so good. I'm looking at your 5 accounts here, and you got some quality. Your Shinlows there on your natural rare, and your Magic Life. You've got the
Well, let me bring
you've
it
got
up.
Immortalis and Uriel. This is some tidy looking work on land here. You got a common totem on each of them. No titles, I don't think. But yeah, it looks good.
All right, so
Actually, Twinblade was on earlier today, and I jumped in on his YouTube stream for a bit.
okay.
He was just looking up people's because if you go to baronstoolbox.com, you can type in anybody's land and you'll have a look at everything. It's really cool. And so it's got all sorts. Even if it's for sale, there's a banner across there says this plot is for sale, or he's even got, if it's under construction, there's now a bar to show how much how far along it is through its construction. If you're developing a if you're clearing a work site or what have you.
Well, let's have a look then. So Baron's Toolbox.
I think I've got one that's being built at the moment. If you want to look at my account, but if you go construction,
I got to spell it right
yeah,
first. What's going on? OXB. I'm dyslexic tonight.
I like how he's utilized a whole card to put in all the land plot details and what cards. And it's very well utilized,
agreed.
I find.
All right, so Baron's Toolbox, and we're under Land Manager. Land Lookup, I'm guessing.
That's the one. So just put my name in there, or anyone else that you know that's doing that's got something under construction, and then just of those in the top right there, you've got the grain farm, shards, and all that. On the left, construction, under construction, slightly left.
Yeah.
That's it. So now you can see that green line there. That's showing how far through that plot of mine is, that occupied epic shard mine. You can actually see the progress bar there as well.
Yeah, it's a quarter away or a bit more.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I can, I could bump that up with time crystals, but I don't really want to burn through them. I want to sort of save them for future stuff. But yeah, so you can just prowl around and do all sorts of filters and what land types and who's doing what. And I can really see this taking off with I think the big news is, because like this is all just putting in the data that we kind of knew was coming, but the land 2.0 stuff that Yabba's dropped, that flow chart that shows what's going on and how it's all going to line up, that's just insane, right? So I really feel like there's going to be 30 different types of resources, and here's the way all the different buildings all flow into each other. More usability for keeps and castles. As somebody with 2 castles, I don't know if I've mentioned I have 2 castles, but I can,
it's in the name.
I have 2 castles, and 18 keeps. So there's that. I can't think of what it's called now, but there's a resource that can only be generated on keeps and castles. On Mythic Land, I'm thinking, well, I've got a lot of those. I can prioritize, putting a whole lot of focus on that and attention on that, and then selling that to whatever that resource is to other people. Try runes, I think was the name. So that's, I mean, it's only one piece of the puzzle, but I think sharing that chart straight off was great. I'd love to get more of a schedule, like every town hall we're going to release a bit more, rather than just like waking up one morning and finding out that a bit of 2.0 alpha has been dropped while you were asleep. I'd like to kind of know what's coming. When the announcements are coming. But
Alrighty, so welcome back, Flauwy. You had some technical difficulties there, and we're all good to go now. We were just looking at Matt's plot here. He's showing us this toolbar, not toolbar. What do you call it? Time bar, rather handy
nice.
feature using Baron's Toolbox. Do you use Baron's
really
Toolbox?
nice. I have not yet, although I've seen lots of good things recently from Exler posting on Discord, and I think he was your guest twice, right? I was just so far I'm always very skeptical to install stuff on my computer, but I think he has deserved himself a lot of our trust.
Well, there's the browser extension, but where we just were was just his website, baronstoolbox.com.
Oh, right.
It has, the browser extension only has some of the features that he's been able to cross code with the interface, but baronstoolbox.com, when it comes to land, that is the place to go to manage your land.
Or to see it, yeah.
Yeah, I see. I really love that you can see your monsters right on the tile for the land plot. Yeah, it's really
nice. And it shows all of your land on one screen. You can't do that on Splinterlands, like across regions and everything. He's done such a good job.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at your land here, Flauwy. You've got Dampier infiltrators on this. You got 5 of them. Dampier infiltrators, and that's under construction, that caldera. I always find it funny when it's like an army of the same monster.
Yeah, you should have a look at my castle. That's
All right, let's have a look.
much funnier because my castle has a lot of lords.
That
That's
while I'm putting your name in, it's reminded me. We were wondering earlier, how do we say your name? Is it flowy, flauwy,
it's difficult to
flowery?
say actually. Um, it has developed itself over the years. As you know, I'm German, and my actual name is Flo or Florian.
Aha.
And I was doing a little bit of rapping when I was younger, and my friends they did name variations. Flo, go with the flow, flow, flowy. And then somehow they called me flauwy, flauwy or flauwy. And then the spelling is just pure German direct spelling as we would spell it in German. So it's a bit strange for an English speaker. It would probably be better spelled with an OU, I guess, rather than AU. But 100% you will never get it as an
Yeah.
English speaker, I
And
guess.
there's no umlaut over the A, so that's why I was thinking like
No,
flowery.
no, that would be crazy. That would be even crazier, I guess.
All right, where's your castle?
My castle is in I think that's 9965,
There's a
region
filter there, Paul.
65, and
Oh
then
yeah, we got filters here. What type of land is it? Plot is it?
It's on the
it's
banner
mythical.
on the right. All those banners there. Just
Oh
click the
no, these banners in the middle of the screen.
Ah, yes, castle.
Yep. Click in.
Thanks, Matt. Oh,
All the
look at all of the
Lord
Lord
areas.
A's.
Love that.
Yes, I was tempted to buy a fifth one there, but it was too expensive, and I thought the Hydra at the end is also nice because if one of the heads dies, it will
Mm,
grow again.
that is a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Have you found your castle to be lucrative yet? I expect the people in that same region have still got a lot of construction going on, so it's early days. But our guild has a castle I've sort of been working, and I've not been overwhelmed with the income from it as yet.
I mean, it's tough to say what's lucrative, what's not. I mean, what do you base it on, right? I mean, if you look at the castle prices on the market, if you compare it with that, I guess, or I don't know. I mean, I'm quite happy. Most of the production is coming from myself, actually, from my tract in tract 9 here. I have a couple of plots outside of my tract in region 65, and then there are a couple of other people, but they don't have as much production as I have, as far as I have quickly gazed so far. And then there's Hive Engine owning 2 tracts, which are not productive at all. I already asked Aggie about it. What are his plans? But it's difficult because he has his own region, which is hard enough to fill. Then he has his own Hive Engine region, which is kind of impossible to fill after he already filled his own, at least with his own cards. I don't think that Hive Engine owns many cards. And then on top of that, they have these 2 tracts in my region. So they are probably I hope at some day he will sell them or something.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm quite happy with what the castle produces so far. It's I have claimed a few days ago, I think 2-3 days ago, and it's already, I don't know, 150,000 grain in it, and it costs 10,000 to claim, so it's about 15x profit in terms of grain alone. So that's quite nice, but I will wait a little bit longer for the higher totem fragment chances.
Yeah,
So how does that work?
Yeah, thanks, Gio. That was my question.
So so there's a certain calculation. I have it actually all in my massive MacLand spreadsheet.
He's got a spread,
But
boys.
yeah, it's if you want to have a look at it, it's linked in the land Discord channel of Splinterlands. But technically, it's giving you a certain chance per hour. Although I heard that it's actually not pegged to the hour, it's just how it's being calculated. So even if you have an incomplete hour, you should still get a certain fraction of that percentage. And then it's actually not using percentage math. So if you have 1% per hour, and then after 2 hours, you can't calculate 1 + 1%. It doesn't work like that in math, but that's how we do it in Splinterlands. So it's basically just being stacked on top of each other. So after 100 hours, theoretically, you would have a 100% chance. Although you will never reach that chance because you don't have these high chances on a normal plot. The only plot that will have a chance for that will be a castle, actually. So after around a week, depending on your production points on the castle, you will have a more or less 100% chance if you claim.
Of getting a fragment.
Yeah, and when you claim all, then you will have multiple chances in one claim, basically. So depending on how many plots you have, let's say you have 10 plots and you make claim all grain, then they will all get their claim chance, and technically it would be possible to get 10 totem fragments with that claim all.
Okay.
So with the claim all, that means they all need to be in the same region.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I've got 3 plots in one region and then a single plot in 2 other regions. That's maybe not ideal, knowing what we know now, but it is what
But we
it
actually
is.
knew that beforehand already.
I didn't.
So it's
I'm
not
a little bit slow.
not that much of a news.
Totally
Yeah,
my bad. It wasn't
I've
lack
been
of
digging into these land stats for years now. I have already made a couple of posts about land speculations, which were pretty spot on. I should have listened more to myself actually back then, over 2 years ago. What will be the best in slots, monsters and stuff like that. This was pretty predictable, depending on the very first announcement post, and they followed it up. The only thing that I fell into, the biggest trap I fell into, was the speculation about you need a summoner on each plot and these kinds of things that were discussed for a while. So I stacked up on my summoners because I didn't have enough, which were pretty expensive during the Splinterlands bull run. And I did not buy all the cheap gold foil cards, which I wanted to, which I should have.
Same.
But I cannot complain. In the end, I'm still pretty well built, stacked. How do you say? Prepared for land. I have just the track, but I bought a couple of more plots on top of it, and I have tons of good monsters running it. So I'm actually looking quite nicely compared to people with the region who have as many monsters as I have. So we're pretty similar. The only difference is that they had better chances, obviously, opening the region and have tons of legendary plots and stuff like that, which I don't, but I make the best of what I have.
Yeah.
And you said in your tract you got a castle.
Yeah, I was super lucky. I was
That
super
is-
lucky.
Now that is good.
Yeah, and I did not follow actually what's going on in that region. I just wanted to go to Central Fire. So I was one of those people waiting for Central Fire, and all of a sudden it came, and I rushed in and just quickly opened my tract, and I was track 9, as you saw earlier, and I didn't even look if the castle was opened or not. And there were a couple of my old guildmates from the legendaries, which in the meantime I already left. Actually, I'm not a legendary dragon any longer. But then we opened it together, and they already said, "Man, you have a good chance to get a castle." And yeah, I got it.
Lo and
Very happy,
behold.
very pleased.
No,
Yeah.
I had
All the
I
other-
had a dream of being in Central Fire, but it ended as soon as I looked.
What do you mean it ended as soon as the dream ended as soon as you looked?
Oh
or...
yeah, so I woke up in the morning. It was like 5 o'clock, and I saw that central fire was halfway. I was like, oh yeah, okay. I'm just gonna go. I want to sleep. So I set my alarm for like an hour or two later, and when I woke up, gone, finito,
Yeah,
finished.
Yeah, it
yeah.
went very quickly.
I was waiting for that myself, and when I didn't actually wake up during the night, but when I woke up in the morning, like yeah, gone. It wasn't even open when I went to bed, and then when I got up in the morning, gone. It was like, wow.
And that's
Yeah, a
what I
couple
meant.
of big players went in hard in there. Region owners, and Voctis is in there with his 4 regions, I think.
All regions.
Yeah.
No wonder it went so quick. Yeah, because the
And just
time
over
Yeah, I
zone.
have.
here, there's a $44 US common desert with building in a box, 44 USD in Kifton in 102. So if you're willing to pony up that 44 USD, then you can get yourself some grain going into feeding your, rather than having to pump it across all the time.
I would definitely do that, but it would take me 3 days for a power down. All my
Bob,
HBDs and savings.
do you want me
Sure.
for the third time to send back the DC to you to get that plot?
Um, just to make it easier, like, can you buy it and send it to me? And would I get
I
the building in
can.
a box if we do
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So you will get the level 1 building when 2.0 comes around, but you won't get the I don't even remember what was in the building in a box, to be honest. But yeah, I'll buy it right now for you. So you say it's in Kifton. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just looking at peak monsters and then filtered to 102, region 102.
Share your
Yeah.
screen, Gio. Let's share the excitement.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You- It's
while
so
you're
funny.
doing that, I'll put my withdrawal in for my HBD savings.
Cool. Yeah,
I'm
because
really,
like
really
I've
happy.
like lent that to Bob like so many times already, like back and forth, back and forth. It's great.
I'm a little envious of people like you, Flauwy, who've planned it all out a whole lot better and worked out exactly what cards, what units to put on which plots and the like. Sarah, who we spoke to last week, is sort of similar vein where it's all planned out and organised, and I've kind of just been playing it by ear and just sort of picking the highest quality plot, and whenever I get some more dark energy crystals, just staking it and then putting a few more cards on. But I keep thinking, for not much less, I could probably, at the rate I'm coming to dark energy crystals, I could probably just keep playing and just put my multiple cards on there and have a little less production points instead of putting my absolute flagship cards on land. Just take a slight haircut there and then just continue playing like I always plan to. Because DEC is absolutely the choke point for me, and I'm sure it's the same for you.
Definitely. And I mean, I've been saving up deck for quite a while, but it took so long with land. It took so long and so many delays, and then there were so many opportunities on the way. New land plots that were waiting for me, stuff in my region 65. Like I bought an occupied epic plot, which was actually the cheapest plot on the market, and it was in my region. I really wanted that. I didn't have one of that quality in my tract, so that was basically a no-brainer for me. And yeah, I spend a lot of my savings on more plots, and then eventually on Rift Watchers because they are running out soon, and I have all cards on maxed so far, and Rift Watchers is really the only edition so far where I'm like, oh my god, how do I even get all the money for it? And I bought tons of maxed cards which were super cheap on the market,
Rift
and then I
Watchers,
realized,
maxed.
yeah, I always check out the peak monsters feature where you compare all the maxed cards, and then just filter for Rift Watchers in that case, and then look at which one is is a steal right now compared to if you would buy in single BCX cards. And every day there's some gems on the market like that. And I stacked up quite a few and then realized I still don't even have half of my Rift Watchers. Even though I have tons of maxed Rift Watchers now, it's just nothing. I still need to spend nearly $2,000 on Rift Watchers just to get all the cards that I need to max it out. Anyhow, so that ate a lot of my savings, and then eventually we had now the pre-sale of Rebellion. I didn't want to buy anything. I'm not really the big pack buyer because I always feel like I have bad luck with pack openings. And I always like to buy the cards from the market. I always did that since the start. But during the final hour of Rebellion, while I was in this hangout chat on Discord with Aggie and many of the others, someone bought a over $2,000 card of mine, which is like I think the most expensive card I ever sold. A gold foil Ruler of the Seas 2 BCX, and I took then I FOMO'd in the Rebellion as well and bought 200 packs there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gio, you want to
And I was
stop
lucky.
sharing
I was
screen?
lucky.
We'll do this later.
I opened them. I opened them yesterday. I got 4 gold for legendaries. It was amazing.
Wow.
4 gold for legendaries in 200 packs.
250 actually.
That's
I
crazy.
bought 230 and I got another 20 for free from Splinterlands for being so helpful in the land testing.
Wow. Matt, how many gold for legend? You got 4, didn't you, out of like 1,400 packs in Chaos
Yeah.
Legion?
Yeah, that's some really good luck there, Larry. That's fantastic. And you know, when you mentioned the occupied epic that you bought, across 2 regions, I didn't get any occupied legendaries. I've got a handful
Oh
of
wow.
occupied epics, but no occupied legendaries. So I got
Yeah, it wasn't a legendary. I bought an epic.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
legendaries would have been
yeah, for
much
sure.
more expensive.
But even for 2 regions, for 2 regions, you're still not guaranteed of getting an occupied legendary. It was,
Yeah.
I think I was looking at the stats. I think I was the worst luck when it came to, and time again, you just see legendary occupied, and they're just not quite next to each other. Legendary, magical, they're not quite. It's like, come on, you need to be on the same rectangle. And it just doesn't happen. So that's okay. Somebody's got
Yeah,
to come
I
along.
actually watched the live stream from Wolf. The Hive Witness, and who also who's creating this new Splinterlands game. And he opened his region, and he was one of the most lucky region openers. He has like tons of amazing cards in there, and I was just the entire time, what is going on? What is going on? Every single time he clicked on all those tiles, like, what?
Yeah.
How can you be so lucky? It was great.
Yeah.
Some people just
So,
have that.
and they seem to, like, if you're lucky, you stay lucky. Like Louis, Magic Louis, like he shares his chests, and the number of gold for legendaries that guy pulls out of chests is just unbelievable. It's like if you've got a lucky account, you've got a lucky account, you know?
I thought so too. I thought that I was on the lower end of the RNG luck, but apparently my Rebellion opening right now proved me otherwise. So which gives me hope. The RNG gods are not looking badly or in favor of you forever. They might change
Yes,
their
yes.
opinion.
They're very fickle.
So on
But
the
guys, yeah, go ahead, you
go
first.
on.
Yeah, I wanna talk about the new 2.0 Lend announcement that just dropped this
Please do.
this
Please
Monday.
do.
I
Explain.
think this is amazing. Well,
Explain
we have
yourself.
been yeah, well, I would love to discuss it with you guys. I mean, it was just mind blowing after so long, after over 2 years now, with basically the same kind of information. I mean, there wasn't much new about land that we learned, even now with the release, and there weren't that many changes they actually did to the very first announcement post, which when came it out, December 3 years ago, wasn't it? Or was it 2 years, 3 years? I think it was 3 years now. And now we got this beautiful flow chart on Monday, and also a little bit of teasing graphics with all the names of the tokens that we can farm on land going forward, or actually not just land, but actually in the entire ecosystem for doing stuff, like even when you provide guild points to your guild, you will earn stuff. And the liquidity, although the liquidity for grain and deck, that's very land related, isn't it? I don't think you earn these elixirs for the other liquidity pools, although they didn't really say that. Might be the case.
Bob, I've just put the
Yep.
link to that chart. There we go. Yeah. So there's so much complexity here, and I really feel like it's gonna this is gameplay, right? This is where you really have that depth of gameplay, and there are going to be people that just pour over this and then work out that, okay, I really feel like I should be going and buying a swamp right now, right? And that's all part of the game. It's not just picking the Cyclops and putting him last in case they have sneaks. This is the game. It's all the game.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot to it. I mean, it wasn't news either, but it immediately made magical plots more valuable, in my opinion. I mean, it was clear that you will be able to farm these magical resources on them, but I think a lot of people are forgetting about these details very easily. Are we
Like I said,
supposed to see
it was
something on your
so.
screen, Bob? Because I only see a black screen.
Oh, really?
Sharing.
Is anyone else
Maybe it's
seeing what
just
I'm
me.
sharing?
Yeah.
I can see the start button.
Could it be that you're on the web browser? The web
I
based
am.
Zoom?
I am, yes.
Oh no.
Otherwise, I would have a fancy background behind me. But it doesn't matter. I have all these screens that Splinterlands shared in front of me. All 3 of them, with the essences and stuff and the flowchart. So we can discuss it nevertheless.
Yes.
I think with Matt keeps making the point that research points are the long-term play, right? If you're about the long term, then you really want to be focusing on research. And I think you might be right, Flauwy, in that magical buildings are probably undervalued then by people who are looking to get in and get out quick, right? People who think, I just want to make a quick profit and then sell, because those people aren't looking to hang around for some future vaporware, promiseware research points when they could be getting something that's sellable now, STS. I think you might be right. And then when magical resources do come out, then the market's going to go, oh, okay, hang on, this is actually something that I need these magical lands for researching, for generating these magical resources, and then we might see a jump. So I agree. I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, there are many factors to it, right? Right now, you can only do the research. You can't sell it. It's not a tradable token.
Yeah.
But Matt already said that this will be the thing. It's probably one of the most important things for the Secret of Pretoria. And the Secret of Pretoria is actually the name of the entire expansion, isn't it? So it's not just a thing that you can do on land. It's the thing you will be able to do on land. And in the flow chart, we can even see that there's more to it. In the flowchart, we can see the Secret of Pretoria is one of 3 elements that you can use the research tokens for. There are also gemstones and totem fragments. They haven't really explained yet. This will be part of the upcoming posts in the next weeks, right? But Somehow we will be able to use research totems to buy gemstones, apparently. And then how totem fragments come in, I don't know. Maybe you can only combine them when you have research totems, research tokens. Token is probably not the right word for it, but because you can't trade them, but research points maybe.
Yeah.
So there are already many things that you have directly there with research itself. And then out of the gemstones, you will be able to create a building called lapidary to create polished gemstones, which will be relevant for item and spell production eventually. So
Wow.
you can't really get around research tokens if you want to do all yourself. I mean, Matt has repeatedly been saying you won't be able to do all yourself. But I think if you have enough plots, you will at least be able to produce a little bit of everything. Yeah, so we're back with the Secret of Pretoria flowchart from Matt. We were already discussing it a little bit. I was mentioning here this part where we see the research points, which apparently going forward in Land 2.0 will be a complete new mechanic. Right now, we just need the magical land plots and we can farm it. But Matt has already mentioned before this flowchart was released that it will never be as easy to farm secret points as it is now, which is why he's going very hard on it. In the future, as it looks from here, we don't know all the details yet, but just from the flowchart, it looks like Castles and Keeps will be producing these trifoil runes, which will then be used in the runology tower to create research points. So from that, it looks like it will indeed be very, very difficult in the future. If you don't have a castle and a keep, and few do, then you will have to buy these trifoil runes from the market. So I'm not 100% certain how this all works since we don't have the details yet, but just from the flowchart alone, it looks to become very, very difficult to get into research tokens. And then when you have these research points, you can use them here in the Ancient Ruins and Reconstruction project, which will then lead to the Secret of Pretoria. But this is just one of these 3 points mentioned here, gemstones and totem fragments. Whatever that means, maybe combining them. We mentioned it earlier, but we don't know either. And then gemstones. I think it was mentioned 2 weeks ago by Matt briefly that you can then use your research to get these gemstones, which are tokens by themselves, and then you can refine them here in the lapidary to get polished gemstones. And as you can see here, it flows all down into items and spell production eventually. So very, very interesting just from that research factor right now. I went quite hard into research when
Do you know
after
what I
I
find?
heard.
Oh, sorry. You know what I
Go ahead.
find also very intriguing? Lumber. Look where lumber's pointing to, the ancient ruins as well. Wood, sawmill, lumber, down right to that. I reckon that's going to be very important as well.
Yes, I mean just look at the wood, how
Mm-hmm.
it points to 4 different buildings that
Yep.
you need, and then especially the sawmill creating the lumber, and then the lumber being required for all the buildings going forwards.
Yes.
All the buildings that you basically everything that we see here will require
Wood.
lumber.
Yep.
Well, refined wood, as it looks like. So there will
Okay.
be wood for the mill in order to produce elemental foods, but then there will be lumber for the mill in order to build the mill building in the first place, and then
So
upgrade it to the next level, and then maintain it because all these buildings will require maintaining over time.
100%. So Matt, I think you struck gold with Broken Lands.
Matt's got a lot of wood.
That's
Yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily think that wood will be better than stone, grain, or ores.
yeah.
There's much to all of it. I mean, of course, there are more
The
arrows
upgrade of
pointing down, and the lumber seems to be very, very versatile in its utility, but that doesn't necessarily mean that these others are becoming less less necessary. I mean, ores, for example, we know when we look at this different graphic here. Let me see, is this the right one? So many. Wait a second. I think it's the next one. Ores, essences, time crystals, diamonds. These are all gemstones. No, it was the previous one. Here, you see this list of tokens, right? So I think these are the ores, the refined ores.
Interesting.
Oh no, actually no, that's not true. Here, these are the ores: iron, aluminum, copper, titanium, and mithril. And you get all of them out of an ore mine. All of them. And then you can refine them. And then you can use them for further use. And the higher your building is, the more chances you get on the lower end, on the higher end ores. Like mithril, you won't get from a building level 1. But if your building gets to level 3 or whatever, then you start producing mithril as well. And from what it sounded, how Matt described, you will produce all of them in parallel.
Oh.
That alone sounds very interesting. So you will always be producing some of them. But this is speculation. It hasn't been exactly announced yet, but this is how I understood it from what Matt described in the town hall.
Okay.
So yeah, this was just the ore. And then we have the stone, which goes into the lithification side to create elemental stones, which will also be required, as you can see here, for all building construction, upgrades, and maintenance. Yeah, so we will need that to build buildings. And then we have the grain, and obviously right now that's the only thing that we produce from the land 2.0 stuff, next to research, which will work differently, and SBS, which might be deactivated entirely when land 2.0 comes out. Maybe not. We will see about that. I actually think it should continue in order to give even more value to all the other resources as a balancer. But we will have to refine grain going forward in land 2.0 into elemental foods. And Matt already talked a little bit about that. As soon as we have buildings, normal grain will not do it any longer. We will still be able to use grain to feed monsters, but they will eat much, much more. And we will need elemental foods in order to keep it more economic for us.
Efficient for the workers.
Yes. And
depending on the type as well, huh? Or depending on the type of land.
We don't know exactly how it will work, but we can see here on this list, there are these elemental foods, pure flakes for life, and spark meal for fire and stuff like that. And I assume it will depend on the splinter of the monsters that you have in there.
That's what I think.
So as soon as you click harvest, it will not show you, hey, you have to pay 10,000 grain. It will tell you, hey, you have to pay 15 spark meals and 20 soul food, because you have fire and death on there, stuff like that. So yeah, getting back to the original, that wood sounds very, very promising here, but I think they're all very promising.
Something I'm thinking too, just looking at this flauwy is, and I think this might be why a lot of people are doing this, is right now that means that if you have a lot of plots, like you and I do, and can't necessarily bring them all online before 2.0 drops, it's going to be substantially cheaper to clear them now using grain than presumably what it will be down the track 2.0 when you need to take that grain and now you need to combine it with magical essences in order to make food that those monsters are now going to use, that these units are now going to use. So I kind of feel like there's almost a necessity at this point to say, okay, I'm not sure when 2.0 is going to come out, but what I need is hit squads, right? So I'll just go from land plot to land plot to land plot and just clear them one after a time, even if it's moving the same group of units from one to another, to the next, and they might only take 2 days each, but I need to do that so that even if it's just my rares or all of my common occupied, or you get what I'm saying, right? Sort of have some sort of momentum towards clearing, because if now it's the easiest it is to get research points, therefore we should do that. Also, we need to consider this might be the easiest it is to clear land.
Well, fully agreed that it will be very, very valuable that you clear your plots now. But on the part of whether it does cost more grain with land 2.0 to clear your plot and build the first level 1 building, because in the future we will have no work sites any longer. As we have now, we have these 3 work sites: SPS, the shard mine, the grain, whatever it's called, and the research hut. And these are not buildings, right? We will not be able to level them up, and they will probably disappear in land 2.0. And then I think that the level 1 building might still be on a similar level in terms of grain consumption. But as soon as you start leveling these buildings up, you will be on a different level in terms of what you need. So yeah, I don't know. These are details we don't know yet.
True.
But we will need more. We will need more plots. That is for sure. If you think, oh yeah, I have with my 5 plots, I can now do everything that land offers. Well, look at this flow chart, and you will realize, I might want to have 1 or 2 more plots in order to do this or that. And even for larger landowners like myself, or even you, Matt, with your 2 regions, there's a lot of things to consider here. What to do, where to go, how to use your more effective monsters, and so on.
It's the logistics of it too, like trying to manage all these resources and harvesting them at various different schedules. Part of me thinks, well, I could do all that, or I could just have an entire region that's full of lumber silos, and all I do is just sit back and collect all the liquidity provider rewards. So there's a point at which it becomes just too complex for a person to run themselves. And I'm sure there's tools and there'll be automation and peak monsters and all sorts there too. But there's also how much of this do you want to do yourself, as opposed to just throwing everything at specializing in one specific thing. Maybe I want to get my lumber silo up to level 10 before anyone else. While everybody else is trying to get all of these buildings up to level 2, I'm just forging on and getting that lumber silo up to 10, and then just absolutely filling it chock-a-block. So there's so many different ways to play this game. It's great.
Totally, and it's also a bit crazy, because then you have maybe your silo at level 10, and then 2 months later you realize, wait a second, maybe that wasn't the best idea, because providing liquidity is overrun. Too many people are doing that. Maybe I can earn a much better return on my land production when I do this and that, and then you stand in front of this tough decision to destroy your level 10 silo again, which might give you back some of the resources you spent on it, but not all of them, and all the time and time crystals and whatever. But it still might be worth it. Yeah, this is really interesting, these dynamics, because since there are so many different elements of the land economy, it's impossible to predict what will be good, what won't, and it will be very dynamic and flexible and shifting all the time. And stuff that is undervalued will rebalance itself to become more valuable, probably going forward. Just like grain is very cheap right now on the market. People want to sell their grain. Some got their grain already with these time vault specials when they bought the plots. So they were already sitting on tons of grain from the start, and now they want to dump it, but price is already climbing up slowly on the peer-to-peer market again. And I think this will be a thing for all of these tokens going forward when Land 2.0 starts. Yeah, I would like to have a closer look at this here on the top. We were already mentioning the elixirs that you earn when you provide liquidity, but these are very basic productions, magical resources and essences, but they lead to everything. You need them for everything. So basically what this means here is these magical plots. You have a death plot, you will produce, let's have a quick look here at what they are called. Here, they are called reclaimed souls. If you have a fire plot, you will create spark stones and so on. Here are the six basic magical elements that you create, or tokens, or however you want to call them. And then they will be combined with the essences. So essences are being farmed on the occupied plots with the outposts that you build there, where you fight all these little monsters that we can see here on my background. Yeah, we have these invaders of the Splinterlands, which come from some different sort of realm or dimension, as far as I understood the lore so far. And we will be able to fight them with our monster workers and then harvest their essences. The essences will have no element, but then we combine these 6 elements from the magical plots with the non-elemental essences to create one of the 6 elemental essences, life essence, earth essence, and so on. And now when we go back to the flow chart, we're basically still here on the top. Both magical resources and essences flow into the laboratory. So this is basically a little bit of a bottleneck here. I think there will be a lot of laboratories out there, must be, because it will take time to convert magic resources and essences into an elemental essence, which will then on itself be required for so many other things, lithification side, the mill, and going down here to item and spell production. So as you can see, there's actually no magical resource going anywhere else, and there are no essences going anywhere else. Both of them are going in here, and then are being required for further refinement of other tokens in the land game. So that there are so many things that immediately connect to that, like how attractive magical plots will be in the future. Right now, they're just this research, this vague research token. We don't really know yet where this is leading to with the magic of Pretoria, right? But then in the future, they will become much rarer, because first of all, you need it for this bottleneck of the laboratory in order to create elemental essences, and you only have one plot for one element. So you have to divide all magic plots that exist out there right now and divide it by 6 in order to get all the 6 different elements. So in order to produce one of them. So maybe you have a dragon magical plot, and now you will be able to create dragon essences in combination with these essences that come from the very rare and expensive occupied plots. So just this alone is already very difficult to achieve for a lot of landholders, because they might not have an occupied plot. So in order to produce these things, they have to buy them from the market from people who have. Same for the magical resources. So that gives a lot of value and use cases to just these rare plots by themselves. And then all these questions that pop up: where do you build a laboratory? Will it be better to build a laboratory on a common natural plot, or will it be somehow favorable to build it on maybe even on a magical plot and then not produce magic resources? Or maybe you can produce magic resources and have your laboratory at the same time. We don't really know that yet. We only know that there will be only one building allowed. We don't know exactly if there will be a special building for magical resource production. Maybe, I don't know. I assume it will, but there's so many things just to get to this one first part of production, magical resources, essences, combine them into magical essences. So many plots that you need and so on. That's just super crazy. And as I was just looking at the market, since Monday when they announced this flowchart, prices, the floor prices for magic plots went from $78 to $110 now. So there are already I mean, there weren't that many, but the few that were available below 110, they were all picked up from the market. I also got one myself for 90 in one of the regions that I'm active in, just because of the flow chart. Even though I already expected something like that, but just makes it more, even more attractive. What do you guys think?
I'm just thinking while you're talking, say, we don't want to put on extra rarities of land and the like for, say, a laboratory. Just throwing this out there, it just popped into my head while you're talking. I wonder if there could be a requirement that a lab needs to be on a plot within a certain distance or even adjacent to either a magical or an occupied plot. So we start using the actual grids to say, okay, anyone who's got a plot that happens to be next to a magical or occupied, you can't harvest magical resources or essences on your plot because it's just a regular, it's just a natural. But it is one that could have a lab built on it because it's next to one of those two, right? And so then you're actually gamifying it even further. Who's got what next to what? And I think that would be a really cool way of giving a new, like when they rolled out gold foil cards and it was just all whoever's got regular foil, now you've got gold foil, and it was like this great new shock value add. I think something like that would be really cool, where somebody who's got just two common plots suddenly discovers that actually one of them is next to an occupied, which didn't matter yesterday, but now actually, hang on, wow, this really matters. Now I can build a lab on that spot, and my plot that was common is now extra specially rare or good or what have you. And obviously there's always going to be losers and winners with something like that. But I kind of feel like that would be a really cool, fun way to gamify things further.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I like, in general, everything that comes to looking at these grids and proximity and so on. I think that's awesome, and I think there will be more of these elements in the future of land. Although what you specifically suggested here, it could also be a blocker. Imagine you want to produce and you don't have this plot next to you, and maybe your neighbors are not interested in the slightest to produce what in that case could be beneficial to the two of you, creating a mini economy. Maybe they don't want that. Maybe they have other plans or they're inactive or whatever. And yeah, it could be detrimental in that case as well. So I'm not sure if they will do that. It's always difficult to balance these things if you maybe there could be a bonus, like you get 10% extra on your laboratory if it does have the proximity next to a magical plot or something like that, or maybe even more than 10%. And then you can go to your neighbor and say, look, I have my magical plots here. You have your neighboring plot there. You produce 10% more. Maybe we can make 50-50 or something like that. That would be really cool. I would love that. But it would also be tons of micromanaging. Imagine you doing that with, when you have your two own regions, you would just be your own neighbor, I guess, in that case.
You know what I find interesting? Well, I think you mentioned it before. If when you upgrade a plot, let's say from a logging camp and you get a sawmill onto it, is that like locked in and now you can't go and build more onto that plot? Can you only have like one thing onto that plot? Or can you, let's say when you're producing a wood plot, Can you have the sawmill on it? Can you have the foundry on it? Can you have the mill on it? Can you have the, I think you get what I'm trying to say. Or will
Yes,
it be just locked for one building type, you know?
it will be locked for one building. That has been communicated already, so that you
Has
can't
it?
have two buildings in parallel. But what we
Okay.
do not know is whether your natural productions, let's say the ores, for example, we don't know exactly if you need an ore mine. Actually, we do know here. There's the mine being shown. So this is a building, a resource production building, as it's called. So you will not be able to produce these resources, these basic resources, plus have another building to
Okay.
refine it. So that's already actually set. Even here,
So,
the outpost is a
okay.
building to farm essences. Magic resource production building is a building to farm its specific magical essence. Oh, well, it's not called essence, but resource on that plot.
Yeah.
Then you can't have any of these others next to it.
Wow. So rest
But you
in
can
peace.
destroy it and rebuild it.
Rest in peace, little small time holders. Rest in rip.
I assume that most small holders will be producers of resources. They will probably not refine stuff and build something like a laboratory. It's way too expensive to build a laboratory if you're not producing essences and magical resources yourself.
Fair point.
So all these purple buildings here, resource refinement buildings, they will probably be not as attractive to smaller landholders.
Yeah.
Because you need all the other stuff. Could be, I mean, you can buy all that stuff from the market, and I assume that raw resources will be hopefully much cheaper than the refined one. That sounds like a logical conclusion here, but
Yeah.
still, I might be a lot of hassle for smaller landholders to do that. So
That's what I'm
it might be
thinking.
much easier to just produce stuff. Just
Yeah.
keep the numbers coming in without you having to click around and buy
Fair point.
left and right.
Yeah.
But it would be possible, I guess, and so it all depends on how cheap are the resources that you get on the market in order to refine them further. And ideally, if the entire ecosystem works really harmonically with each other, then it would actually be something to consider for smaller landholders. But specifically in the beginning, it would be very complicated, I think. So yeah,
I can see
maybe
a
further down
situation.
the road.
I can see where somebody maybe in the middle of the supply chain, if they're doing it well or they're bringing in outside fiat, and they just decide to move up and down the supply chain, and they, okay, I'm at the moment I'm taking these ores and I'm turning them into, I'm refining them and then I'm selling them on. Well, I want to own the mine now. I want to go and buy the mine, and then also I want to go and buy the next building further along in the supply chain. And so sort of spreading yourself out throughout the supply chain and taking on more of those, seeing that as a viable goal. And it could be going from one step to two over the course of 3 years. But hey, it's progress, right?
Right. One thing I'm always a little bit skeptical, maybe not skeptical, but something is in terms of how is this all being valued? All so many things. They all have their own liquidity pool with DEC, so there will be some stability for the prices there. So that's a good thing. It's actually amazing, and I think a lot of people will put in resources into these pools, but still, it all will have its own price, and the price will have to be somehow priced inside the entire ecosystem and how it brings value to everything else. So it's just so mind-blowing. I mean, technically we're creating new value here, complete new value. So if Splinterlands has an X market cap for NFTs right now and tokens altogether, This X market cap will then be multiplied by a lot because you bring in all these new things that weren't there before, but will then be there and have all a demand because it's part of the greater ecosystem. It's difficult to wrap my head around that. It's just so weird to create value out of nothing there. Even though it's not nothing, you have to have all these assets beforehand. But still, it's a difficult concept, I think, to wrap my mind around.
Well, that's how the
I love it.
fiat system works.
Yeah.
Creating something out of nothing.
And we're not even creating something out of nothing. We have to have stake deck. We have to have the land plots. We have to have the workers being staked on there. So it's
True.
it's proof. It's basically a certain form of proof of work and proof of stake combined.
Yeah.
More proof of stake, but I also like to think about it in terms of proof of work because the workers are actually working there, creating production points. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's so much. I mean, just grain alone. I mean, we're producing grain now. It's probably being undervalued, climbing up a little bit there. But in the future, we won't be able to produce so much grain any longer. Have you thought about that? All your natural plots, you can't just produce grain there any longer. You have a mountain, probably no grain. You have a desert, probably no grain. These kinds of things. You have plains. You will be able to continue producing grain there, but
Yeah.
you better have some leftover grains when it comes to land 2.0, right? Or else, where do you get it from the market? You have all of a sudden the entire grain production collapses because you don't have the right natural plots in order to continue producing grain. I mean, maybe then you're producing wood and wood is equally good, so you can sell it in order to buy your grain, but it will make it a little bit more complicated. So now is the time to think about these things like grain. What do you wanna stockpile a little bit of grain for land 2.0? I certainly will. At least with my position in the liquidity pool when it comes out. Because it will get more complicated when we get there. And then here these ores, right? The same thing.
When you talk about generating new value, I think so much of the time, there's that concern that is it a Ponzi, is it a pyramid scheme? And I've said for a long time now that when the eyeballs are here, then the advertisers will arrive. When we have genuinely a million or 10 million daily active players that are legit human eyeballs, then we can expect that tournaments will be sponsored by whoever. But I'm thinking now too, like with land, a more long-term arrangement, I might have build an arena on one of my legendary natural swamp plots, for example, and I might strike up a deal with Gatorade it's Gatorade Stadium, right? And they pay me outside fiat for the naming rights for a year or 5 years or whatever the option is. This particular stadium that I had take a lot of, say, earth and death battles there, to host tournaments and all of that, and then maybe I take their money and host tournaments myself to bring people to Gatorade Stadium, just off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a really amazing thought, actually. I mean, they mentioned something like that already with stadiums and so on. At least they briefly mentioned it at some point. I know that Woo, this wrestling game on Hive, they do exactly that concept. We have your land plots, you build stadiums on them, and then you can run your wrestling shows in these stadiums and earn through that. And then since the Woo founder is working for Splinterlands, he's in the Splinterlands team, they apparently talked with each other and met like some of these ideas. Yeah, that would be really cool to have your own arena. May I mention, by the way, that Region 65, where my castle resides, is at the foot of Mount Mox. Mox City, where all these big tournaments in the lore being
Held.
taking place. Yeah,
Wow.
so I'm pretty happy about that.
And on that note, to end on a happy note, we are going to get cut off in about 3 minutes. Flo, would you be interested in coming back on to do like a part 2? Because I feel like we haven't even
Yeah, absolutely.
scratched the surface.
Yeah.
Shall we wait for episode 202 or make this earlier?
I'm thinking strongly like episode 102, like next week,
All
if you're
right.
down for it.
I'm in.
While this is still fresh in everyone's
Yeah.
mind. The complexity involved, I mean, was anyone 2 years ago expecting this level of complexity? I mean, I see like Mac was talking about opportunities outside of the scope of the game. Someone whose mind works this way and is totally over it could consult to whales, like some whale who's just overwhelmed by the complexity can say, look, I'm going to pay you this amount of money a month, just tell me what to do. I see that as an opportunity. Absolutely.
It's already happening. Eco Instant, one of our community members, is managing the entire region for A. Brockman, who doesn't have the time to do it himself. So Eco is doing it for him, and he's doing a great job so far. If you want to swap some plots, go to Eco. He has done tons of swapping in and out of the region. That's really cool.
All right.
Of A. Brockman region.
Anyone who's just heard that and is interested, if you could drop his name into the Discord at some point, I will add that to the blog section of this post. And yeah, we'll have you on next week. I just don't even know what questions to ask at this point. I'm so, like, the complexity is amazing.
Yeah, right. We haven't even talked about the salt yet, right? And the desalinization crystals and tons of stuff just on this flow chart. By next week, we know a little bit more, actually, hopefully.
Awesome. So thanks for coming on. This has been absolutely amazing. I hope that you have got something out of this. And if you want to get a little bit more, join us again next week for episode 102. Flauwy, thank you so much for coming on. This has just been absolutely mind-blowing. And we'll see you guys next week. I'm Boba Fett. Peace out.